Australia and the United States have built a second spy satellite, and it's scheduled for liftoff from a launch site in New Zealand. The satellites will be used to collect intelligence for the Allied nations. This is being called an Antipodean adventure, and as of now, Australia remains silent about this. Why is this? What's really happening? To answer these questions, let's discuss this spy satellite in detail. First of all, what exactly are spy satellites? In today's world, space is a battleground for dominance among major powers. Did you know that about a fifth of all the satellites belong to the military and are used for spying? Now, for those of you who don't know what spy sats are, they're Earth observation spacecrafts deployed for military or intelligence applications. The first generation of these, that is, Zenit or Corona, took photographs. They then ejected canisters of photographic film, which would later descend back down into Earth's atmosphere. Modern ones are able to do a lot more than that. And now, let's talk about the launch of the satellite and Australia's role. Australia's Department of Defense didn't announce the successful launch of the first satellite or the launch date of the second one. The National Reconnaissance Office, the U.S. spy agency, has been celebrating the Antipodean adventure, which features a crocodile, an eagle, and a rocket on its logo. Some people in the space industry are baffled by the lack of information and fanfare on the Australian side. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute senior analyst Malcolm Davis said there is a very big difference in the U.S. military, which actively promotes its work. The Australian military, on the other hand, is closed off. This is not just about particular satellites. It's an attitude within defense that they're very closed off. The Americans are very forward in this case. Just look at how they support movies like Top Gun Maverick. This is a very different culture from the frustrating one in Australia. Up next, let's talk about the satellites and some other details. NROL-162. The first satellite features a frill-necked lizard patch. So what is this? To give you a little background, a frill-necked lizard is a reptile primarily located in northern Australia. Much like the lizard, it represents the small, agile nature of the payload to be launched. NROL-199, the second satellite, has a dingo. It's a small to medium-sized canine built for speed, agility, and stamina. New Zealand's Rocket Lab provides the rockets to deliver the classified payloads into orbit. This will be done from the launch site on Mahia Peninsula. Its engine is the world's first 3D printed electric pump-fed rocket engine. It will be the 29th launch overall for the 58-foot-tall Electron. The booster was designed to give small satellites dedicated rides to Earth orbit, but Rocket Lab is expanding the exploration profile now. For example, there is an Electron that recently launched NASA's Capstone probe to the moon. The company aims to send one more life-hunting mission to Venus in the upcoming years. Talking about the Antipodean adventure, there will be no recovery activities, but its first stage will plummet into the ocean shortly after liftoff. NRO's mission is to produce intelligent products for warfighters and policymakers, as well as for the use of civilians. A defense spokesperson said that the department partnered with NRO for 2 space missions. This will be a part of a broad range of cooperative satellite activities. Peter Dutton, as defense minister, announced Australia's intention to work with the NRO to build a more capable, integrated, and resilient space architecture. It'll be designed to provide global coverage in support of a wide range of intelligence mission requirements. He announced a separate plan to develop a surveillance satellite with the Queensland company Gilmore Space Technologies earlier this year. We're not yet sure about the exact dates, but it's going to launch next year. These projects are in the lead-up to Defense Project 799. The federal government has pledged $500 million to DEF 799. This is to improve Australia's space-based intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities. All this will be in order to support Australian Defence Force operations around the world and at home. So, what is the next goal? If we talk about the next step, it's to build their own satellites according to Davis. These are very important steps. Consider these as interim steps that we've co-developed with the Americans, he says. The details about the satellite payloads and missions are protected. Australia's ability to generate military effects utilizing the space domain will continue to enhance. In the coming time, this will be achieved through efforts that include developing capabilities resilient in denied environments. Access to space will also be assured, of course. The SPICE satellite launch was initially scheduled for the 22nd of July, but it was delayed due to software issues. So, now it'll be launched on the 4th of August during a 2-hour window. There was an attempt made to launch it on the 2nd of August as well, but it was delayed due to high winds. Now onto other news. Firstly, China launches a third group of Yaogan 35 spy satellites. This launch will add to China's growing Earth observation and reconnaissance capabilities. The country added added 3 new space stations to its classified Yaogan Earth Observation and Exploration series. The latest launch will be out of the hills of southwest China. A Long March 2D rocket lifted off on the 7th of July from Xicheng Launch Center in Sichuan Province. It'll carry 3 satellites designated as Yaogan 35. The new trio will join 2 sets of Yaogan 25 space station triplets, which were sent to orbit by 2 similar launches last November and this June. All 9 satellites are now orbiting roughly 310 miles above the Earth's surface. It'll provide an inclination of 35 degrees to provide regular, repeated passes over areas of interest. The description of these are usually vague and not available to everyone. We guess this is why they are called spy satellites. The China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation developed both the rocket and spacecraft for the mission. They stated that these will be used for space scientific experiments, monitoring land usage, and natural resources. This was China's 27th launch of the year, and CASC plans to launch more than 50 times throughout this year. Next, did Russia just launch a spacecraft to stalk a US spy satellite? Rumor has it that a Russian spy space station may be tasked with stalking one of its American counterparts. Cosmos 2558 is said to be an inspector craft even before it lifted off. These rumors are unlikely to die out anytime soon. It launched into the same orbital plane as the USA 326, which is an American spy satellite. It rode a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket to orbit this past February. They are both close in altitude and are scheduled to have a relatively close encounter soon, provided that neither one performs any crucial movements over the next day or so. If we're being fair, the USA 326 does seem to be pretty intriguing. According to Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist, it ejected something recently that is either a sub-satellite or some sort of debris. It wouldn't come off as a shock if Cosmos 2558 was a spy-sat stalker. In early 2020, 2 Russian satellites maneuvered within about 100 miles of the United States USA 245 spacecraft. American officials said that they consider this behavior unusual and disturbing. This shows that they were not pleased. Also, this action has the potential to create a dangerous situation in space. Lastly, mission ends for the Copernicus Sentinel-1B satellite. On the 23rd of December 2021, the spacecraft experienced an anomaly related to the instrument electronics power supply provided by the satellite platform. This ended up in it being unable to deliver radar data. Since then, the engineers and operators have been working tirelessly to fix the issue. Despite all efforts, ESA and the European Commission have announced that it's the end of the mission for Sentinel-1B. Copernicus Sentinel-1A is fully functional on the other hand, and plans are in force to launch Sentinel-1C as soon as possible. The Director of Earth Observation Programs stated that unfortunately, they have to announce the end of the mission for this spacecraft. The Anomaly Review Board concluded that it's impossible to recover the 28V regulated bus of its C-band synthetic aperture radar antenna power supply unit. This is needed to provide power to the radar electronics. The permanent unavailability of this spacecraft represents an important loss for the European Union's space program. The European Union is engaged to mitigate its impact. The Sentinel-1B launched back in April 2016. Its mission comprised of 2 identical satellites orbiting 180 degrees apart. The mission was able to image the planet with a maximum repeat frequency of 6 days, down to daily coverage at higher latitudes. Its ambitious operation raised the bar for spaceborne radar, as it had advanced radar technology. This provided an all-weather, day and night supply of imagery of our planet's surface. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Australia and NZ launching a new satellite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.